We see that the three Hurler of the Year nominations, there's no massive surprise in any of that. Keane Lynch, Kyle Hayes, Sean Finn. Sorry, there's no surprise with Keane Lynch being named in there. Were you surprised by the other two?
Wasn't surprised by Hayes. I did expect three Limerick players, but when Sean Finn probably wouldn't have been like, he was the best cornerback this season, I would say. Yeah, he was the best cornerback this season, hands down. But I probably would have had a handful of other players ahead of him going for that overall award, particularly probably Tom Morrissey, Seamus Flanagan as well, who had his best year ever for Limerick. Morrissey continued on last year's form. Finn, to me, was brilliant again this year, but he'd probably been better other years. But, and it's just probably the way it worked out this year. There was three Limerick lads had to be picked. It's funny that there's two defenders in there as well, because there's often the bias to look at what a forward has done. So look at what Flanagan, Lynch, Morrissey, could easily have those three picked. So from a back's point of view, it is good to see strong representation, but I probably would have had either Flanagan or Morrissey ahead of Finn, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I definitely think I'd have had Tom Morrissey in here ahead of both Finn and Hayes, actually. Okay. I'd have him higher in the pecking order on both. Like Tom Morrissey, did he score something like 6 points against Tipperary in the Munster final? When they were under the cosh, he was still one of the few players who was played pretty well. I think earlier in the year, he didn't look like he was going to have necessarily the same stellar season as 2020. And I thought he was Hurler of the Year last year. So is there just something slightly unfashionable about Tom Morrissey that, I don't feel that way, because I would have had him Hurler of the Year last year and I'd have him nominated this year. But is there something that other people are finding so unfashionable about him?
I'm not sure. He's definitely the hardest done player to have not been nominated for Hurler of the Year over the past two. He could be the hardest done player of all time to have never been nominated for Hurler of the Year. Like, there is no doubt about it. He was in the top three hurlers last year. Like, there is just there's no debate. And I would be the same as you. While Gerard Hegarty shot the lights out, I think a lot of that was as a direct result of what Morrissey did. And he obviously had that man of the match display in the semi-final in 20, and he had the man of the match display in the semi-final in the 2021 game as well. And he was good in the final. He scored 3, and he was outstanding against Tip. And he was the one actually taking it to Tip when everyone else was going quite poorly. And I think he ended up with six points that day. So yeah, I don't know if anyone, I can't think of anybody else that jumps out over the last 20 years that should have been nominated for Hurler of the Year more than him. And he still hasn't been in the mix in the 2 years, but it's just been outstanding.
Is Keane Lynch soon heading into GOAT territory here? Like, he's going to win Hurler of the Year, right? He should win Hurler of the Year. Actually, a quick word then, and we're talking about Tom Morrissey not getting nominated. John Conlon, I felt, was very hard done by in 2018. I thought he was absolutely exceptional. I'm not saying to win Hurler of the Year, but not to be too far away, because definitely a nomination was something that I felt he should have had. And you and I actually said a couple of years ago that Paddy Smith should have got a nomination for an AllStar, ahead of Owen O'Donnell, in fact. And again, he misses out here. And, when you look at his performance against TJ Reid in the Leinster final for a COVID-riddled Dublin, geez, that was very impressive.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. And again, a lot of it's not flashy stuff, to be honest with you. It's, in the best way, it's underhand kind of work. It's not big flashy catches or anything like that. It's just doing what has to be done to kind of spoil a lad. And I thought he was brilliant 2 years ago, and he's brilliant again this year, and he's very hard done by. You mentioned John Conlon being hard done by in 18. John Conlon's probably hard done by not to get a nomination this year as well. When you look at it, overall, take the first couple of league games aside, he was brilliant in an unfamiliar position at centre back. So I would definitely say those two are hard done by. Dublin are probably hard done by overall, with just one nomination.
If you enjoyed this piece of content, please follow us on YouTube by hitting the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the page, which helps the channel grow. And if you want audio podcasts, go to patreon.com/ourgame.